Hello. The topic for this group project is about solitary confinement. The contributors for this topic are Alexis Canister, Jasmine Moreno, Martina Fouts, and Violet Grainer. For some people, solitary confinement is seen as a punishment. For others, it feels like torture. In this project, we're going to look at what solitary confinement really is, where it came from, and the impact it has on people's lives. Thank you.
Solitary confinement is a form of punishment for inmates by isolating them in a small cell without any access to resources or contact with others. Inmates are already restricted from the majority of things while being incarcerated, but with solitary confinement, inmates have absolutely nothing. Solitary confinement first originated at Eastern State Prison in Philadelphia in the 1800s. Solitary confinement, more commonly known as the hold, was originally meant to punish prisoners for their wrongdoings by isolating them in a pitch-black cold cell for 23 hours a day. Those who were prone to experiencing such punishment were those who failed to follow regulations and were violent towards other inmates and staff. It was believed that if prisoners had enough time to themselves, they would reflect on their actions. Instead of solitary confinement being affected, it was affecting inmates drastically to the point where they were developing psychological issues after being gone long periods of time. Inmates were not only experiencing hallucinations, but were also committing suicide due to the harsh disciplinary actions they were receiving. While most individuals might be sent over as a punishment, some inmates take advantage of the circumstances for their own protection. Those who are prone to spending a significant amount of time in solitary confinement are younger individuals who are inexperienced within the system and labeled gang members who are most likely to engage in violence. With solitary confinement, inmates have higher chances of recidivism after getting out of isolation. Those who are eventually eligible for parole will have a hard time adapting to the real world after experiencing harsh conditions while incarcerated.
In regards to the adverse psychological and physical effects of solitary confinement, the American Psychiatric Association and the National Commission on Correctional Healthcare state that the conditions of solitary confinement are cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. A 2-year-long repeated measures design focused on studying the effects of solitary confinement on male inmates, specifically examining how isolation affects mental health and psychological needs. It was found that the more days of disciplinary isolation or solitary confinement, the more negative an inmate's mental health status, as well as their behavior towards authority. Another analysis was done, specifically a meta-analysis using 13 studies and 400,000 inmates who've been exposed to solitary confinement in prisons in order to understand the psychological effects and mortality rates due to such exposure. Majority showed that solitary confinement was highly associated with an increase in psychological effects, self-harm, and mortality rates, specifically due to suicide. Moderate effects were observed in regards to mood, psychotic, and hostility symptoms. Overall, the examination proved that solitary confinement is associated with the psychological deterioration of inmates beyond general incarceration or predisposed mental illness.
Solitary confinement on juveniles. Solitary confinement plays a crucial role across all individuals with different factors, including juveniles who are affected just like anyone else. Instead of focusing on rehabilitation for younger individuals who are not quite aware of the consequences at their age, they should be having full access to resources. Being exposed to severe negative aspects can make them more prone to suffering with long-term effects as if they are in the development stage. Juveniles being prohibited while in solitary confinement can lead to severe physical and mental health issues if not treated. Individuals who start having issues with the law at an early age are more prone to experiencing incarceration in prison in their adult years. It depicts the motive of reoffending when juveniles are developing the wrong concepts at a young age and carrying them out all the way into their adult years.
It's like being buried alive.
This place is like an insane asylum.
Thoughts of suicide come a lot.
Solitary confinement.
You can't get yourself wound up because you can't leave that room.
Now I want to discuss the ethics of solitary confinement. To discuss this, I want to talk about someone specific, Kenny. Kenny, at the age of 17 years old, experienced 82 days of solitary confinement. While he was being held in a detention center for a 6-month sentence, he was in solitary confinement. He had depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and even started inflicting harm on himself. His own mother noticed the changes in him, stating he was an entirely different person after his time in isolation. This clearly shows that experiences like these have drastic effects on juveniles and even on grown adults. The dissertation Abstracts International evaluated the emotional, cognitive, and social effects that solitary confinement has on an inmate, and they are in fact negative. From anxiety, depression, withdrawal, trauma, and loss of social skills, this clearly shows that isolation, solitary confinement, does more harm than good. This form of punishment should not be utilized as a default, but rather as a last resort. There could be better policies and limits put in place to maintain a livable situation for inmates and avoid sensory deprivation.
This concludes our presentation on solitary confinement. Solitary confinement forces us to think about what justice really means. Is it keeping people safe, or is it causing harm that lasts a lifetime? These are not easy questions, but they matter. If we want a justice system that's fair and humane, we have to take a closer look at practices like solitary confinement. Again, the contributors on this project are Alexis Canister, Jasmine Moreno, Martina Fouts, and Violet Grainer. Thank you.